Thank you for joining us for the 2-minute drills. I'm Aram Talegian, San Gabriel Valley Newspaper Group football writer. And if I'm joined by Miguel Melendez and Fred J. Robledo, you know that can mean one thing, a nice Star News. It's so funny when we get these guys together for a nice Star News Tribune crossover clash.
And this game a lot.
Right, that can be talking about none other than Monrovia, 1-1. Is this game at Monrovia?
Yes.
Okay, hosting San Dimas, which is now 2-1 and kind of forgotten since that smudge pot loss to Bonita. Guys, the best thing for me to do is kind of get out of the way and let you two mix it up.
Well, I mean, I'll start with San Dimas, Miguel, and you could talk about Monrovia, but you're right, that smudge pot game, I think all of us were there, Airman, saw that 40-20 loss and had kind of written them off because not only did they lose, they didn't look good in that game at all. They weren't moving the ball. But there's something about Zernico and his staff and making adjustments, and they've been really good over the years, week to week. I remember they had a bad loss at Monrovia, I think 2 years ago when San Dimas came back and beat them in the championship game. It was after that Monrovia loss, they made some adjustments, and they didn't lose another game the rest of the way. Look at what they did the following week against Azusa.
This is pretty
41-16 over Azusa. Now, granted, maybe it's not the Azusa of the last 2 years, but this is Azusa that had been on a roll in non-league games and had been one of the better teams in Mid-Valley. Then last week against San Gabriel, 59-6. I mean, they've just got it rolling again. If you look at their stats, Aram and Miguel, they're averaging 356 yards on the ground again. Dylan Corona, Dominic, Joe Levette and Andrew Espinoza, those three together. And even Sean Kennedy has probably been more of a serviceable quarterback than they've had in recent years now. He's averaging 115 yards. So their offense has it going, and I'm impressed with the defense that they've only given up 24 points since giving up 40 in that season opening loss to Bonita. Maybe they've turned the corner. But Miguel, this is still Monrovia.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Monrovia yet, and I've been trying to salvage this team in terms of trying to rationalize how they're playing and how they lost against Arcadia. I think the things that are popping out to me from the get-go is, again, they trailed. Their offense got off to a slow start from what I read. They were trailing 20-6, needed a comeback to try and salvage this win, only to see Taylor Lagasse burst their bubble. I think the thing that pops out for me big time is Deshaun Ramirez, 7 carries, minus 14 yards.
7 carries, that's all he got?
Minus 14 yards. And
Wait, what game was that?
Against Arcadia.
No, I've got it right here. He had 8 carries for 18 yards. He had 18 yards. He wasn't negative.
Oh, well, they have him down as negative.
I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're calling fake punts or something where he got like dragged down or fell on a fumble, negative yards. But I mean,
bottom line, it's not the game that you.
And 2 touchdowns.
Bottom line, it's not the game you expected from him.
Right.
Well, I also expected him to get the ball a lot more, and that's what I was going to bring up. My point about Monrovia, not to interrupt you, was they don't get him the ball enough.
Well, that could be too, but I mean, I think another thing that I'm worried about is also now San Dimas. You mentioned their production on the ground. They had 466 yards rushing. Granted, it was San Gabriel, but when you can rack up that much yardage, I mean, that kind of puts Monrovia's going to need to find a way to stop that kind of run, and they've had trouble with that wing team before, and it's not like they perfected it the last time they beat them. They still, I think, struggle with that. I just don't know how Monrovia. I think they're an enigma for me right now. I'll finally get to see them on Friday. But Aram, you were there on Friday, and against Arcadia, I was a little stunned by that.
It's what I said back in summer. They have trouble at quarterback. That's the situation. 4 interceptions in the previous game by George Fraser. They got that Hayworth guy some plays in the game, some snaps as well. They're not moving the ball through the air, and they're clearly not comfortable doing it when they have to. And that's basically what it comes down to. Their passing game is going to be a kind of a work in progress, and that was the problem in the summer. I mean, they will have guys wide open, and the ball will sail 8 yards out of bounds. There's not a lot of touch on the ball coming from either QB right now, but that is all stuff that Coach Maddox can work on to get corrected. So I'm not extremely worried about that. What I would have just thought is that knowing that this team would be relying on Deshaun Ramirez more, and Marquise Bias started and got basically, and he's a very nice player. He got basically the bulk of the carries in the first half, or was targeted the most. I just think you got to get Deshaun the ball in any way, shape, or form.
How many times did he throw the ball last week?
27, by my count, 32 times.
And that's amazing, isn't it? You're throwing the ball 32 times when you got.
They were down though, Freddie. I mean, they were down 20-6. Yeah, and it could have been a lot worse, and Arcadia had turnover problems of its own. It just looks to me like Monrovia is an extremely talented team, as we know. I mean, they really do have 8 or 9 just amazing-looking frames out there, from all the way from Kraft all the way to Bryant to McCarthy to Deshaun to Bias, whomever, G5. They just haven't found a way to kind of put all of that together yet. And Arcadia is a very good football team. But I will say this, one thing in Monrovia's favor is they've seen the wing T already this year because they played Glendora. So they have a familiarity with it, and they've seen San Dimas a bunch of times in the past few years that they're familiar with what they do.
For those who are keeping count, these teams are 2-2 against each other the last 2 years. San Dimas winning the championship 2009, Monrovia winning it in 2010. And look, when I try to look at this game, I think the one thing, you talk about Arcadia and Monrovia, they were able to throw the ball and move the ball on them. I think if you're just going to run the ball, which is San Dimas is going to do primarily, you're going to have a hard time against Monrovia. Glendora, another wing T team, had a hard time running against them. The game that sticks in my mind was San Dimas against Bonita, the first game. A more physical team really shut them down. That's why, although San Dimas has looked really good these last 2 weeks against Azusa and San Gabriel, I think they're going against something different entirely when you think of Ellis McCarthy in the middle of that defense and trying to run on them. I think if you're going to beat Monrovia, you're going to need a quarterback, someone who can do some things against the air. I don't think San Dimas is going to have enough of that. That's why. And Monrovia coming off a loss, look. They've got to come back and get a win. I mean, if they are who they say they are, you don't lose to Arcadia, come back and lose to San Dimas, especially when you're getting South Hills the following week, who's a pretty good team who's going to have a bye this week. So very important game for Monrovia to get on track. Otherwise, they lose here, Miguel, they could possibly lose 3 in a row with South Hills coming there next week. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that after everything the gains that they've made the last couple of years. They've got to answer the challenge this week.
Yeah, and I don't think Monrovia is too concerned about the CAF polls, which will be released later today. I don't think they're concerned about their placing. I think once they're in the Mid-Valley Division, I think we pretty much know that, or we think at least, that they're going to have a deep run. I think what they're concerned is, I think what Monrovia is worried about right now is their psyche. How are they getting into this game? Almost similar to like last year, where they lose who they lose to before. They lose to Glendora, and then they go into that South Hills game thinking, well, now what? I mean, what's this? This isn't a Warriors.
That was a great game that they won. That was a great game that they won.
But again, they needed a comeback to win that.
Sometimes you need to lose a game like this to really find out what you're all about, too. I mean, they've been on cloud 9 since that championship last year. There's a lot of talk about them being maybe the best team in the whole valley. They got a wake-up call last week. Now you get knocked down. How do you get back up? That's what we're going to find out this week.
And Deshaun Ramirez, going back to him, he's the kind of player where maybe you give him 7 carries and he only has 18 yards, but he's the kind of player where he can have one breakout play and swing the momentum entirely.
I think Deshaun Ramirez is going to go nuts.
To have only 7-8 carries, I think
he's going to go nuts against San Dimas this week.
If he gets the ball.
He's got to get the ball.
If he gets the ball. I mean, if they give him the ball enough to get him...
Maddox
well, that's what I thought last week.
He's a smart coach. This is when you make adjustments, you look at the film. He's going to get the ball more this week. I will predict at least 25 carries.
You know, you can run on Monrovia. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, they just double-teamed McCarthy and ran away from him the whole night. Sheldon McKinley had 140 yards on 23 carries and 2 touchdowns. You can run the ball on Monrovia, and I think San Dimas is going to find a way to do that. And I don't put any... I don't take anything away from those San Dimas wins over Azusa and San Gabriel. Those are 2 quality Mid-Valley Division teams, and those are 2 quality butt whippings.
It's what San Dimas has done.
If this offense is rolling, Fred, they've got a shot in this game. Yeah. I still got to lean with Monrovia, but I think this one's going to be another close one. What do you guys have?
Yeah, I think it's going to be close too, but I like Monrovia for that simple reason. I think they're going to answer the challenge this week. I think on paper they're a better team. I think they know they're a better team. San Dimas has looked really good, but I think this is a game that Monrovia has to win. They're at home. I think they take this one right now, but I think San Dimas makes it a real close game. I really do. I think they've improved a lot since that first loss, and that's something that Zernico's always done is rebound well and learn from a loss. So I think you're going to have another San Dimas Monrovia classic.
I have San Dimas.
Oh, wow.
I have San Dimas.
What's going on here today, Fred? Guys are picking teams that we would have never expected. I picked
against
Charter. We got less than a minute
left here, so
he picked against M-Town.
Okay.
All right, so you got San Dimas. Any reason? Are you saying 30 seconds, Stevie?
Yeah.
Tell us why in 10 seconds.
I just think that they haven't proven anything so far in terms of what they haven't shown no consistency overall on offense and on defense. They just seem to fall apart in certain points. So.
All right, well, there you have it. A stunner. Miguel picks San Dimas. Fred and I have Monrovia. Get out there and enjoy that on Friday night at Monrovia.